Good evening. Tonight, we're going to make a very easy dinner. It's sauteed pork chops with apple chutney. The first time I made this recipe, I made it wrong. And it came out delicious because the recipe called for apple cider. And I misread it and put in apple cider vinegar. But I'll tell you what, that apple cider vinegar made this a tasty dish. The apple cider would have been way too sweet. This isn't my recipe. This is America's Test Kitchen, and it's a cookbook for two. There's a lot to be desired with the cookbook for two. This apple chutney, they tell you to use one apple. How the hell do you split one apple between two people? That's ridiculous. So when I make it, I use 5 apples chopped up and a grated apple to help make a thicker chutney. This is real easy. It maybe takes an hour start to finish depending on how fast you can chop and cut stuff. You can use boneless pork chops. You can use bone-in pork chops. I like the boneless because I can fit 4 of them in the 12-inch skillet at the same time. If you get the bone in, they're kind of big and you probably can't do 4. Although the recipe calls for 2. You're going to need salt and pepper, vegetable oil. I'm going to use grapeseed oil. This bag is 6 apples, 5 chopped, 1 grated, and 1 large shallot, 1 apple. You can't serve dinner made with 1 apple. So I got fresh ginger. It calls for 1.5 teaspoons. I love ginger, so I grated me a bunch because I'm going to put that in. That's really good. 1/8 teaspoon of allspice. I'll probably double that because of the apple count. Apple cider vinegar. This is where they called apple cider. I did apple cider vinegar. My mistake, but boy did it come out delicious. So I'm going to do 3/4 cup of that. It calls for 1/2 cup. I'll do 3/4 because of the apples. And then we got 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. With brown sugar and the apple cider vinegar, I found that every 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, if you cut it with a tablespoon of brown sugar, everything equals out and it's very tasty. So I'm going to cook these pork chops in a 12-inch cast iron skillet, and I've got the lid from a 12-inch pan, and it kind of fits in there nice because that's what we're going to need to cook this chutney. I'm going to keep those pork chops refrigerator cold. Large chunks of pork, pork chops, pork loin, pork tenderloins, the large chunk pork meat, you don't have to cook that to 145, 150, 160. As long as that solid piece of pork hits 138 and maintains that temperature for a minute or two, it's safe to eat. So since I'm going to be cooking these on high heat, I'm going to cook them to maybe 135, and then I'll take them off, and while they rest, I'll go up over 138. And while they're resting, I'll make that apple chutney. So let's get this started. We put the oven mitt next to that cast iron skillet to remind us to use that so we don't have a teardrop shape in the palm of our hand. Okay, we got salt and pepper on side 1. We'll throw them in that cast iron skillet, salt and pepper side 2. Okay, that oil's shimmering. It's like reading 450. We're going to cook these pork chops to 135. Okay, it's about 3 minutes on side 1. We'll do side 2. All right, those have hit 133 in the middle. I'm going to take them off. And we'll tent those with foil. Okay, we put the heat back down to medium-low. We're going to add all the apples. Oh, they smell good already. All right, medium-low. We're going to cover these for about 10, 12 minutes. Okay, these apples have been going about 10 minutes. Oh boy, I wish you could smell. Holy crap, that smells so good. All right, so I'm going to take the lid off. I'm going to put in the ginger, the allspice, the apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to cook this without the lid on it to let that liquid evaporate and make a nice paste. All right, so in goes the ginger. We're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of the allspice. We're going to stir that in a little bit. Oh my Lord, the fragrance of that. Oh my God, that is so good. Damn. We'll let that get aromatic for like a minute. Now we're going to add the apple cider vinegar and the brown sugar. I wish you could smell what I smell. It's actually making me salivate. Pavlov's dog! All right, so I'm gonna let this simmer a little bit and thicken up. And that's where that grated apple comes into play, because that kind of like broke down and made it thick. I'm gonna let this go 5 or 6 minutes without the lid on it so it'll thicken up nice. Oh, hell yeah, you can't forget this part. Look at that, pork juice. Oh yeah, yum! You gotta get that pork juice in there. That's what it's all about. We'll stir that in there. Yeah, it's starting to thicken up really nice. And once this cools off, it'll really gel up on you. And when this is left over, this is phenomenal. All right, so we're gonna let that simmer for 3-4 minutes, thicken up, make a nice paste. Okay, here's our apple chutney. Okay, we got that pork chop cut. We got to plate it up with that apple chutney. And yeah, that pork is a little pink in the center, but that's not going to kill you because it was over 138. It's going to be juicy and tasty. And man, this apple chutney is going to be delicious. All right, we're going to dig into this bad boy. Here we go. Boy, that pork chop is so tender. It's juicy. We'll do it straight up by itself. That is so tender. Man, cook your large chunk pork to 138 because you're killing it when you go to 145, 160. That apple chutney is so good. It confuses your taste buds because it's like sweet and sour. Man, there's nothing like apples and pork. And you know, it has fresh ginger in it. If you're gonna do up fresh ginger, you gotta do yourself up the old Moscow Mule as well. The Fever Tree ginger beer is one of my favorites. It has a really strong ginger flavor and the sugar content is not that bad. Plus, I shaved me off some nice ginger slices while I was making that chutney. Cheers with an icy cold Moscow Mule, lime, some shaved ginger, sauteed boneless pork chops with apple chutney. Cheers, and thanks for watching. Have a good weekend. Take care.